Millie and Robert, that makes me feel like I just want to cuddle up and take a nap. Probably not a good time, huh? So remember last year when the Mayan calendar ended and the whole world was going to end? We're still here. Woohoo! But there's just this one little thing, and that is that we may be doing some things to ourselves and to the planet that may not be quite sustainable. And so we're starting a series of talks today. We're going to talk about a book that some of you may have read by a guy named Eckhart Tolle, and it's called A New Worth: Awakening to Your Life's Purpose. And we're going to talk about it in two different ways, about you specifically, what is yours to do, and then more broadly about what is ours to do in the world in which we live in. I always think about the story that many of you know about the frog in a pot. I know we're often boiling frogs in pots. But the story is told that if you take a frog and you put it in a pot of boiling water on the stove, that the frog will immediately jump out. But if you take that frog and you put it in tepid water in a pot on the stove, and slowly but surely you turn up the heat, the frog will die. And so even though the world didn't come to an end last year, I'm kind of happy about that, but we all are a bit like those frogs on the stove, that things are heating up a bit. And we have this precious opportunity to reflect on whether or not we need to jump out of the pot, or maybe we need to figure out a way to turn down the heat. I find it fascinating that in the year 1900, there was 1.6 billion people on the earth. And in 1999, 100 years later, there was 6.1 billion people on the earth. And last night when I checked on the internet, of course, you can find out how many people there are in this exact moment. There was about 7,120,000,000, and give or take a few people. And the number is rising. It's not rising fast enough that we're going to seemingly have a crisis and that we might have to run out of the room and suddenly go do something. But the world that we are living in may be on the verge of a crisis. And so we get to decide what we want to do and how we want to play a part in it, or if we want to at all. And that is exactly what Eckhart Tolle wants to talk to us about. Many of you may know his story. He was born in Germany and was in London, I believe. He was teaching English classes. And he was suffering from severe depression for many, many years. And he tells the story that he sat down on a park bench, struggling with just how to get through life. He kept asking, who or what is depressed? What is it that is causing this awful sensation? And whatever it is that happened to him in that moment of reflection, he says that it was in an instant that he realized that this self that felt depressed was in fact just an illusion. It was as if it broke away into a million parts, and he could see that he was interconnected and interdependent to all things, and he spent the next few weeks just walking around in bliss, looking at each and every person as if they were him, feeling that deepest sense of connection. He says he picked up a pencil at one point and thought, wow, a pencil. How awesome is that? Now, you know you got to be in bliss if you're really excited about a pencil. But he's gone on to write several books that he sold over 8 million. Some of you may know he did a little work study program with Oprah. About 35 million people showed up. So I don't know, maybe he might have something to say. Yeah. So we can take a look at what is it that we can learn from what Eckhart Tolle's experience is, and what is it that's happening in our world today that we ought to be paying attention to. Barbara Marx Hubbard is another one of these visionaries, and we are very fortunate to have Marlene Wine-Chase in the audience. I'm going to call on Marlene. If there are any questions about Barbara Marx Hubbard, ask Marlene. But Barbara Marx Hubbard is also having this message to us that we can no longer sleepwalk through life. It's easy to get up in the morning and do the same things that we've done over and over and over again. And in fact, there's a wonderful book called The Power of Habit that says that about 95% of what we do every day, we are simply doing out of habit. And that would be okay if everything was working out and everything was joyful and peaceful. But I don't know about you, sometimes my habits cause me to not be joyful and peaceful. And so I have an opportunity to wake up, as we all do, in the middle of our life and to decide, how shall I live? And that is what Eckhart Tolle is asking us to ask ourselves. Something as simple as, I've been coming here since 1991, and so I've been driving and parking in the parking lot and getting out and going to church for, I don't know, a few decades. And a couple of years ago, I bought a place a couple of blocks from here. And for the first year, I kept driving to the church every time I drove home. You know, I'd kind of be going, oh yeah, I meant to do that, and then have to drive. And I think it kind of still happens a few times now. But how do we awaken in the midst of as we sleepwalk through life and find a way to live more joyfully, more purposefully, and in a way that each of us are responsible for whether or not this planet survives? And so as we go through this series, we're going to be talking about the purpose of life in two different ways. In a very personal way, one of the ways that Barbara Marx Hubbard describes it is that we show up in life with what we think is us, this ego. Father Thomas calls it our false self, our personality and all the experiences and all the judgments and biases we have about ourselves and about others, and how it clouds us from having an experience about what is happening in this moment. And both Eckhart Tolle and Barbara Marx encourage us that there is another part of us that is the essence of who we are. That there is a universal self within us. And that we are inseparably interconnected to each other. In this moment, if you were to just take a breath, and realize that we are together a living organism. We are breathing the same air. We are creating the same presence. And we will decide together what becomes of this planet. So it may be a little daunting to think about how we're going to get 7 billion people all lined up going in the right direction. But we can start with ourselves, and we can start with the people closest to us. So as we go through this series, I encourage you to think of your life and the world in two ways. One, of personally, how do you want to show up in the world? And then secondly, on a grander scale, what can I do to serve the world? When we look back at what Buddha and Jesus were talking about, it was in fact that. They were trying to not be one person that would be worshiped, but they were trying to clone themselves. They didn't want there to be just one Buddha or one Jesus. They wanted 100. They wanted 1,000. They wanted 1,000,000, because that's what's going to change the planet. For you to be Buddha or Jesus, I know Graham, he already is Jesus. For us all to show up in this way that is a divine service to each other. You have within you, that was the message of the great prophets that came before us. Each and every one of you in this room has within you everything you need to be that divine spirit. And all we have to do is to connect into it. It's like plugging in to that Energizer bunny of spirituality, of understanding who and what you are, and of finding that source of energy and enthusiasm within you to be the change that you want to see in the world. And so as we go through this series, we'll talk a little bit about what can we do on the outside to start changing the world. And then a little bit of, in reflection, what can I do on the inside to change the way I experience myself in the world. And 3 things that I wanted to mention before we go into meditation that is something that you can do almost immediately that can make a difference. And the very first thing is, on Saturdays, this Saturday, we go and feed the hungry. If you're not well fed, if you're wondering where your next meal is coming from, you're probably not too worried about what's going to happen with the planet. And so we can make a difference in a person's life this Saturday so that maybe they can have an opportunity to be fed and that they too can get on the bus and make a difference in the way this planet is saved. At 11:45 this morning, Literacy KC is having a meeting, and you can find out how to be a tutor to someone who is 16 years or older who doesn't know how to read. If you don't know how to read, most likely you're not going to be very worried about what's going to happen to the planet. And so each of us here in this room are incredibly powerful in that something as simple as teaching someone how to read can make a powerful difference in their life and in the life of our community. And then lastly, I want to plant the little seeds. I feel like I am now a walking billboard for Banneker Elementary School. We have sponsored this lovely school with all these beautiful little children who are not reading at their grade level. And you, by spending an hour a week come this fall, could transform a child's life. Because if a child isn't reading at grade level by grade 3, the likelihood that they are going to end up in prison increases exponentially. So outwardly, we can do things that will change the world around us. And inwardly, we can find that strength and courage and the joy of being connected to the essence within us, to listen to God, to feel God's presence, to be in the divine essence, whatever you call it. And so we'll take those thoughts into meditation to just practice a bit in which we are all here together, connected into the God source. Want to give it a try? I think we're good. blessed we are to have this time together. Just relax into the moment and take a few slow, full, deep breaths. Having that sense that we are sharing this moment together, breathing in and breathing out. Letting go of any sense of separation. And just allowing that deep sense of connectedness to arise. Let go of having to think about the past or think about the future. Allowing ourselves to be fully present. Just let it be okay to just simply be. The present moment is a doorway to the divine. To the divine essence that we are all connected to. That is within each and every one of us. So we can just take this precious opportunity to dive into this moment. To allow that divine essence to manifest through us. Spending these next few moments in the silence, just simply listening with our heart, listening with that essence in the silence. As we allow that innate sense of connectedness to arise, we know that we can take with us throughout this week the powerful combination of our intention and our breath to simply be present in whatever situation or circumstance we may find ourselves in. To simply breathe in and breathe out.
Good morning. I'm Bob Gom, Prayer Chaplain Leader, and I welcome you to the Prayer Chaplain Installation Ceremony. This morning we are honoring two of our chaplains who are leaving the Prayer Chaplain program, Reverend Linda Zucan and co-leader Kent Robertson. Spirit touches us at different times, and that's what leads us many times to be prayer chaplains. Spirit has touched these two beautiful people, and again, they have been called to continue their spiritual journey. As we say, once a chaplain, always a chaplain. And we are blessed, for they are part of our congregation and will always be here, so we can use them as advisors or to talk with us, and they will be chaplains emeritus. Linda and Kent, we thank you for your dedication and service. We love you, we bless you, and we support you on your journey. With my co-leader, Kent Robinson, leaving the chaplain program, chaplains Connie Dotson and Vicki Gom will be assuming the vacant co-leader position and will be assisting this morning as one of their first duties. We would like to introduce the chaplains that have returned for service again for another year. Those little things that keep the water messes you up. First, we would like to honor Carol Bradstreet, Clayton Chase, Connie Dobson, who is going to be a co-leader, myself, Vicki Gom, who's going to be a co-leader, Judy Hewitt, Madeline Johnson, Cindy Lars, who is not present, she's out of town, Kathy Massey, and Warren Teachout. We thank you for your continued service. Joining this year in our chaplain program, we have 5 new chaplains. First one is Erica Rhino. Karen Neal, Robert Walker, Robert Backman, and Taryn Kelly. In the book of Isaiah, the prophet is asked by God, "Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?" Isaiah responded, "Here I am, send me." This morning we gather to celebrate and recognize each of you, for you have said, "Here I am, send me." In the awareness of the activity of Spirit which has led you to this moment, I invite you to your heart, and if your heart says yes, I ask that you respond with the words, I am, to these questions. Are you willing to accept this commitment and dedication?
I am.
Are you willing to remember to open a space for God no matter what?
I am.
Are you willing to do your best to stay prayed up?
I am.
Are you willing to support this ministry and the staff of Unity Temple on the Plaza and other members of the prayer chaplain team?
I am.
Today you have chosen to say, here I am, Lord, and I am thankful for each of you, your time, your energy, your dedication. You are indeed an incredible gift to us all. Prayer chaplains, may I present to you those that you will love and uphold in prayer, the Unity Temple congregation. And to the congregation here at Unity Temple on the Plaza, I present to you your prayer chaplains.
I, the Lord of sea and sky, I have heard my people cry, who will dwell in dark and sin, my hand will save. I who made the stars of night, I will make the darkness bright. To them, whom shall I send? Here I am, Lord. It is I, Lord. I have heard you calling in the night. I will go, Lord, where you lead me. I will hold my people in my heart. I, the Lord of wind and flame, I will tear